playing. I mean, not we're not going to be playing anything. We are going to be what is it? We are going to be commentating the Fortnite NAC Grand Finals. For day 1 and 2, me and Ravalinho here. Um, yep, there he is. You guys won't be able to see the map, so I'll show you because I'm streaming from my PlayStation. So I will be showing you the stream through Fortnite. I mean the map through Fortnite. So yeah, if you go.
Show the map? kind of start kicking off the competition, I gotta hear from you guys. What are you excited to see? Obviously, this is just day one, right? And we talk about all the time, day one teams versus day two teams. You know, what are you guys hoping to see out of just day one?
Well, now I'm excited to see who's going to be dropped on. Is there going to be these surprise contestants, like Vivid saying, these little whispers that's going on that could completely shake up the way that things go in the FNCS? And there's one thing that I always say about Fortnite is that it is unpredictable. You truly do not know if a POI is going to even be there the next day or who's going to be landing on you. The best thing about these players is their adaptability.
Yeah, I mean, throughout the season, right, we're all been like, man, there's kind of like a lack of tournaments. We can't really see what's going on NA, and then the changes that happen every single week, right? It's like if you go ahead and take notes throughout the season in preparation for this grand finals, right? And it's all like just like a stack of paper with all those notes. Yeah, all of them just get thrown out like every single day. It's like, and you just got to rewrite them down. So I'm excited to get into game number one. I want a formulated kind of plan and an expectation to be set for the rest of the 11 games, because as of right now, it kind of feels like we have no idea what's going to happen. So game one for me is going to be like, okay, what's going on? Let me pay attention to every little detail.
Okay, I'm gonna put you on the spot. If you have to pick what's a tree to win right now, who's it gotta be? Who's it gonna be? Pick one.
Oh,
don't think about it.
Peterbot.
Go.
Peterbot.
Kelly's going with Peterbot. Listen, you know, I love Peterbot. I've kind of been on the Peterbot train for a very long time. I think they're going to do very, very good, but I think the storyline would just be too good right now to not say Clicks Higgs.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
That's fair. Look, you know, Kelly, I feel like there's just so many names, right? It's like, dude, you just look at the lobby list. It's like, bro, you could tell me like 20 different trios and I'd be like, yeah, all of them could win. Absolutely. You know, we'll have to just see how things unfold, how forgiving the zone is. And we all know it ain't forgiving at all. So with that being said, it is that time. 6 games today and then 6 games tomorrow, and we will finally know and see the full picture of which trios will be going on to the Global Championship in Beyond. Fortnite fam, buckle up, because game one starts now.
Thankfully, Monster, I've been buckled up since the start of the show. And let's take a trip real quick. Major 1, a 14-point difference between first and second place. Major 2, 11-point difference between first and second place. Monster, I hope this weekend that trend continues.
Major 2 was absolute cinema. I think it put NA just at the front line of pure entertainment. No matter what we know for certain that we are in store for great games and some wonderful action. And then we've already talked about it. You have a wild card trio in the mix here coming up from Brazil. So I am so looking forward to what's going to unfold here at the north side of the map. I almost feel bad that they are all so close to one another because anything can happen now.
Yeah, especially if we get a lot of those north zones, forcing those teams to kind of interact very, very early on in some of these games. But I want to say about the probability chance that Kinch kind of broke down. To me, if I was one of those teams that was not in that top 5, that would light a fire in my heart to kind of perform the very best that I can. There's only 2 more spots up for grabs with 6 teams already qualified. So you don't even necessarily have to shoot for the top of the leaderboard. But you guys heard that sound. The battle bus is ready. Let's get into game number 1.
Grand finals time, baby. Game number 1's kicking off here, and now Major 3 has arrived. And what a time to be alive. What a time to be a Fortnite fan as we get to watch this here with front row seats to the action, Jacob. Obviously, it couldn't be a better time now to push your way through to globals. We already know most of the big ticket teams have nothing to worry about. It's about what spots are remaining here.
Yeah, and already I can see the drop map. The dust is settled. Everybody marking their spot early on before the tournament. Oh, I'm contested so-and-so. Oh, I'm going here. You can see Peterbot uncontested. Clicks uncontested. Kanata uncontested. And right here, right now, uncontested as well. If you look at the opinions of a lot of the Fortnite community, those are the top 4 teams that are in the race for the championship. And to start off game number 1, Monster, all of them uncontested.
What I love too is like all the interview content we kind of got in lead up. You got to hear essentially from the players themselves. Kanata, how he has no doubt in his mind he'll be taking his seat to globals. How Acorn feels like now more than ever this is more competitive now that he isn't wiping Pollo out the early game of the map here. And then let's jump in with Muzz, Shadow, and Sphinx. Obviously, last chance qualifier on the line when it matters most. They come through, they clutch up, they put in the work. And now running through a team like Bryce, right, clashing up against this squad right here. This is a player, this is a trio that that have slowly and consistently shown that they can even win in LAN settings as well. So this is a pretty big battle, Jacob.
Yeah, no, I kind of agree with it. I like the way you were kind of heading with that conversation. When you look at the names of Dash, Skittles, and Bryce, you may not see them as kind of the top names, a name to be scary, but already throughout this season, they kind of moved on over to the Resistance base, and this not been an easy fight no matter who has been contesting this side of the map, and already proven they could be a force to be reckoned with. Yes, Muzz, Shadow, they still got to fight for that reboot card. We'll see how much success we find over there, but back over to the last order. This is where you can kind of see that off-spawn fight. 3 teams over here, Monster. Triple contested. Nico's in such a tough spot underneath. Liam shows up at a perfect time to pressure not one, but all 3 of those teams to try to slow down the push.
Nice little tag there for Liam to kind of open this one up. You know, first order is not big enough for 3 trios by any means, so these fights are going to get pretty scrappy here. I'm more interested to see who's going to make an adjustment coming out of this. This is not the place you want to be for a grand finals, right? For some, it's their first time making their appearance, right? Their first true time trying to get their feet kind of wet in this upper level of competition. For others like Liam, I mean, very experienced. He's holding its own right now very nicely.
Yeah, just kind of jumping, creating distance. May not be big 105 shots by any means, but he's at least fighting back just like that, chipping him down little by little. Josh was down first. Tyler follows him to the lobby curb with 13 HP. He does have some heals in his inventory if he could manage a way to escape, but it's just not only that team that you have to worry about. There's still a 3rd trio there. They might not be all 3 members up, but there's still a threat, but in the distance from Porta Potty Liam, that's why you know they're landing here. They just know the terrain so well.
Such a good read, such a beautiful just kind of angle play there from Liam, but more importantly, talk about holding his own in the 2v1, just in the box fight capability. So Liam clearly feeling very much good, warmed up. Take a look at that tag right there to give him the advantage. Just everything you expect from a very much experienced trio here, an individual like Liam. Jumping into the other things though, Sphinx getting picked up here, looks like from the reboot, but Dash, Bryce, and Skittles absolutely ready for the action here. Get a couple opening tags. Shadow is going to come down to him to go on and put up some good defense right now. And Muzz playing wonderful side angles there. Is going to go on and defend properly.
Yeah, I see the idea. Sphinx fresh off the reboot. They know they got half damage there. So they thought for a second he was kind of positioned by himself. They looked like they were going to push him by him. But Muzz right there basically saving the day. They get the reboot up. Sphinx doesn't even get downed, and that's going to be the biggest difference maker. Because he gets downed, you know as well as I do, this trio probably pushes, trying to keep their numbers intact. But the fact that those trees essentially saving the day, not giving them the line of sight to get that knock on the Sphinx, forcing them to kind of disengage on out. And you know how stacked this side of the zone is. They're trying to move on over, but they're stuck between now Muzz's team and Reed's team over at Flooded Frogs.
Yeah, this is a tough spot to be in. This rotate's not going to be easy. It's going to get real exciting here for Skittles, Bryce, and Dash. And, I mean, it's from one problem straight into another. Reed's going to need to find his Storm Surge. We'll see what's all going to fold there shortly. But first, take a look at this replay here. Couple big eliminations there, kicking things off for Madden's team. On the other side, we have a little sample of Peterbot, Cold, and Ritual set up here, playing, again, a huge Storm base, pushing it way outwards so that you're kind of in the render distance for the trios in the distance. This is one of those strategies that is no stranger to the upper Fortnite competition, right? What you really have to be careful of is how high the thresholds are going to be now as the game starts to develop.
Yeah, and you can kind of see that, you know, Vivid, Kelly, Zeke, they all broke it down from major to major. Those thresholds just getting higher and higher. That's just more and more teams taking note of what's going on around the map. That risk versus reward. Yeah, you can be flashy. You could try to box fight the nearest team next to you, but that kind of increases a third-party chance, increases your own chance of going down. And that's why you see these massive, massive surge towers, 6 to 7 layers high, spreading the distance to cover that render distance you were talking about. And the amount of heals around these uncontested POIs, Crime City here being one of them. You saw Ritual kind of converging all those heals at the bottom of these ramps all into one location. So when they do take an immense amount of damage, it's so easy for them to start to heal up, get back into full health. And the other difference maker is, even if they do get a down monster, they're so far across the map by the time they try to push over. If they were, that player's gonna be up, he's gonna be revived, and he's gonna be full health.
Yeah, but what you're looking at right now is like not all Storm Surge is treated equal. Like Kanata has by far gotten the better, you know, of this trio here, as they've kind of look to fire at one another. So you do have to be careful. Like, even look at Oliver OG's setup right now, right? Take all this damage. You still need to recover. You still have a whole game ahead of you. And truly, it will come down to who is the better team at the end of the day.
Kind of seeing, you know, Oliver just going and getting all the scraps back. We talked about Ritual, trying to bring all the loot on over to one spot. That's Oliver's job for this stream. Everybody kind of has their respective roles. We talk about IGLs, fraggers, support players. Well, somebody's got to get the heals to keep everybody healthy. Bugha doing the same thing. Utopia, they kind of spread out in a triangle formation. Usually threats kind of towards the north of Utopia. Craze watching the south side of the map. Bugha watching the Shining Spans part. And he noticed no team went on over to this bunker. He immediately beelined over with his misform, grabbed all the extra loot there. But he is only C rank, so there is still going to be more and more as the superhero ranks upgrade, more access to those chests. So if a team does continue to pull towards the south, I can maybe see Bugha threats and Craze trying to rotate over there and get that little bit of extra loot.
And they'll need it. And most certainly these hero ranks absolutely matter when it comes to getting the unlocks for that upper tier kind of itemization. Looking at Cyclops, VLEX HQ, kind of playing deep in the storm right now. Doing a nice little wide rotate here as they try to find themselves into the new zone.
Talk about the island. They brought up the tweet a little bit saying Boxcars, Island, Spire, we're keying absolutely everything. Ironically enough, the fight's going down below the island, so if they can find some rifts, they can easily try to get out of this position, take the high ground on over. It might be just a little bit too risky getting caught in those wind tunnels. You're just kind of open, susceptible to getting tagged up. And that's Taki, Isho, and Vert underneath. And this is a team that's been getting better each and every single major as individuals and as teammates.
One thing seems pretty clear right now is that Ishu, Taki, and Vert have gotten the better of Peterbot's team. As far as this initial engagement is concerned, you saw all of the shields on Ritual and Cold were at least around that 50% mark, and they seem to have kind of had to slow down there. So likely giving up the island, but getting the better of them, at least in that initial exchange.
Yeah, damage. It's like currency, allows you to flexibly walk around the map, rotate from zone to zone, especially if you get one of those dreaded max pools. As Ritual Cold, Peterbot, they took that rift I was talking about. They got on top of the island, realizing no team's really going to contest him up there, and immediately goes from the island back on over towards Brutal Boxcars Mountain to try to take these priority positions in order to start to continue to accumulate that storm surge.
Yeah, they're not wasting any time. The team hot on their heels here. This is just what looks to be a preparation in full effect right now. And I absolutely love to watch this high caliber Fortnite in action right now. We'll get a little update with Peterbot in a couple moments, but first we got some action here. Zavi, Neko getting right back at it. Like, let's not forget, first order base, obviously they won that initial fight. The team that was here, Jigs, and the rest of the team had seemingly gotten their loot together, but they need that fight, right? They need the damage, most importantly here.
Yeah, and just kind of one of those situations where, you know, they are able to take down one of the 3 trios that did land over here. I believe they have a 3v2 advantage, and the zone is still close by, so they don't have the pressure to rotate on out just yet. But for Neko and Zavi, it's a whole different story. Depending on whether or not they got the reboot card or not, they might not be in that position to have the same flexibility, especially pressure coming in from both sides. Zavi getting most of his shields knocked off. And they're just getting surrounded. You see them just taking that different approach, just trying to lurk around, hide the video visuals, and just kind of strike when they can.
I'm not gonna lie, it looks like desperation starting to kick in here. Metal being thrown all across this bottom layer. Neko trying to kind of plan the ambush from the side angle. Doesn't seem like he caught the big elim that he was looking for. And Zavi, just so much pressure coming in, forcing him back into the first order low ground. He seems hungry to try to chase down that elimination. Neko's kind of desperate here to escape at this point in time.
Yeah, Zavi had no choice. He used the porta potty, but you can kind of see him on the lone island, the south side of the map, kind of leaving Neko. Luckily for him, he did have that misform. Tries to create distance, once again, using the porta potty, and he's just going further and further towards the north, farther and farther away from his teammates, which in one side could be bad, but on the other side, at least they have a chance to go back and get that reboot card. But action going down all around the map. Scares able to get that knock onto Madden. His teammate follows, and there goes the last one trying to be the hero, but he's going to follow them back to the lobby.
Nice little team elim right there to set things up. Little update here for Clicks and Yamzo. See what it's looking like over here. Several dashes here on Clix's setup right now. Still playing the Supernova Academy very closely here at this given time. And we know what teams are off to the north. Most likely to be Ree, Cooper, Curly. Got Preston's trio kind of nearby, and off to the eastern side, Sineto, Ocean, and Cam. So really, any one of these trios can already be on the move, but it seems like Yamzo's hot on the heels of Ree and Cooper. Little does he know that they don't see him here, kind of lurking. He'll likely get those opening tags. I'm surprised to see Blake's trio playing this zone kind of deeply like this, so just telling of the situation at hand here. They want to make sure that they are not rotating too soon into anyone else's warpath, if you will.
They got a couple options here too. They can go ahead and ride that first launch pad as deep as possible, and I think that one's going to be the case. But right next to them, there's that bunker, there's the rift. But what this is also going to do, because we talked about the surge towers, the overabundance of hills, all of them kind of collecting them. If they go at the bottom of some of these surge towers, they could find a little bit of extra resources that they can use. Heals to make sure to keep the ones in their loadout untouched. It might not be the worst plan, but I will see the most drastic thing that is happening to a lot of these teams that are in that same position outside of the storm is you're kind of minimizing your win potential when it comes to that heal off at the end of the game.
There's that Cooper, Ree, and Curly trio rotating around the outskirts. That one little marker on the map, that's Yamzo looking at them from up above, looking for kind of some opening tags here. And there is a lurking trio still inside the zone. We knew that Crisis team was kind of moving behind, and big two-tap here from Reed onto Yamzo to put him down. Higgs is going to have to come to support ASAP. If not, it's not looking good right now for Clix and his teammate. Playing for the quick pickup here. Here, it all kind of unfolds right now. Reed backs off. Kind of recognizing, wait a second, I don't need to open up here, but Curly falls, and a huge mistake being made there. And here comes Muzz's trio out of nowhere, collapsing in, taking full advantage of the chaos.
This is a prime example of why they sit in their surge towers, Monster, even after they get a knock. There's just too much distance. The revive came into play, and as soon as they were going to crash, Muzz's team got the knock onto Curly. Now Cooper and Reet are forced to try to use a lot of their materials in the fourth zone to try to make space. Shadow is putting down pressure. Clix, Yamzo, and Higgs, they've disengaged on out. They're just watching from above, smiling ear to ear, saying, hey, we started this, as Curly actually does get cleaned up by Dash. Monster, that is another trio around this spot on the map.
That's exactly where my head was going. Bryce and Dash's team seeing this all unfold here. They start to look in. They want a piece of the action. Why not find a few tags here? And you know they're thinking about Muzz's trio and how they were pushed off the drop. So that's personal for sure here. Clixianzo Higgs get bailed out of a treacherous situation and live to see another day. The team that is most affected right now is obviously Reed's team, but look, they've got in the reboot card and they seem to have skated out for a quick reboot here to come.
Yeah, I'm just kind of thinking of like Blessings. It is a north zone this time around. So even though they're going back to their POI, Flooded Frogs, there's launch pads over there. They can close the distance, dash sprites as well. So I do expect them to get their teammate back into the game. But how much Storm Surge did they just lose off of him going down and getting rebooted back into the game? That might have impacted them later on as we continue to get closer and closer towards the ending portions. As Minish Visuals and Braids, they've rotated up from Foxy Floodgates, and they've kind of centered themselves in that middle portion of the map, getting as much Storm Surge as possible. I saw multiple knocks in the feed on them and on other players. So right now, they just got to focus on their rotation, which seems a little bit easier because you see two more teams on top of the Brutal Box Cards Mountain, Bolts, Kanata, and Rapid being one of them.
Yeah, I saw Oliver OG's team affected there. Phaser taken down by Oliver OG just moments ago. So now it's all up to King, PH Zin, but it seems like they've managed to pick him back up and get him back in the game. And look, that puts them below the surge. And this is exactly what we just kind of expressed, right? When you get eliminated and brought back in, you are effectively losing all that progress in the game. It truly is a huge setback. So now, how can King, PHN, and Phaser play this one out? This is exactly what we wanted to highlight kind of in those opening moments. Those breakdowns were all about, can this team figure out how to pick up the surge damage that is most notably here on NA?
Yeah, and essentially they need a
Very
full
nice
elimination and some exactly that. They get that knock on the Blake. It did look like Oliver tried to go ahead and turn back, save the day, but he doesn't know. Full trio's narrowing down, trying to get that elimination. 84 more damage for Storm Surge, but they still find themselves below the damage threshold. And with 2 eliminations for Diego and Blake, they're 600 above Monster. All they need to do is survive this onslaught from the Brazilian powerhouses.
Pretty great defense here by Oliver OG, though. I didn't expect him to be able to kind of make a move like that, but Oliver calls for the dash out. Definitely wise to disengage here. Seems like King, Higgs are not looking to give this one up. Oliver's going to go in and fall. Big crack from the side angle there. It's just a matter of moments here now before Diego will fall here too, but not before he takes down some serious damage. Wait a second, that Siphon's gonna keep him in the game here. We can't count him out just yet. Cooper shows up as well. He gets put down by Phaser. What is going on here?
That early elimination, Curly going down, losing the Storm Surge. So many teams are being infected by that investment going sideways. And now with Cooper down, Curly's gone. Reet is just on the hunt trying to take down Phaser, but it's just going to get more and more tough because I saw Higgs in the distance as well. And there's that first player of Oliver's team. It might have been Diego. He got that first elimination, but he goes down. What is going on?
You can't pay for action like this. Reed versus Phaser, one-on-one. This is where Reed shines, though. He queues up into fights like this all day long, but this time it's Phaser who connects the dots and closes the conversation right there. And now he will have a chance to get the pickup here, but look who's coming in. Other teams that need that damage. 668 below here for he lost the plot, but Phaser, I mean, he's warmed up. He's already done it against the best of the best. I think Plot's got something to worry about here.
I think this might be Chimp. OG Chimp. He may have lost the plot, but he might not have lost the skill. He's ready to kind of go ahead one-on-one against Phaser. Phaser's playing this so safe. He has 3 medkits. He has a decent amount of builds. He just needs to stay alive and continue to create distance. It's only bandages on the other side. He might not know this. This might be a hindsight thing to talk about. Monster B just needs to continue to stay alive. He doesn't even have to put pressure back. 6 builds. He continues to push forward. He knows his time is limited. Another big shot coming out from Phaser, but he did force to cancel that first medkit.
Very nicely done by him as well. Plays the med kit, gets the Siphon to kick in as well. And this is a huge damage tick happening here. I do think he might have Storm Sickness. Is that just, yeah, ticking away too fast. Too much time spent in the zone. And that's how it ends.
Honestly, I thought this major was going to be entertaining, but I didn't think it was going to be this entertaining this early on into game 1. It just goes to show that everybody, you know, when it comes to the practice, the eval cups, the divisional cups, even those scrims, it's really all being put to use. All those tricks being exposed here early on. And you're seeing some of those risks that some of these teams took early in game number 1. It didn't pay off. They might start to change up their thought process going into the next.
Really does make you think about how much time you spend in the zone. Uga threats and Craze, though, putting the laser to use here. Very, very nicely done there. They're going to open up elimination onto another player there for Craze's team, but Peterbot, Ritual, Cold have somewhat found their bearings. Just 114 above the damage threshold here. This is not usual for Peterbot, Ritual, and Cold, but this is where they shine best. They've made it to endgame, and now everyone has to be very much on their toes. Clicks, Yamzo, and Higgs just sections away from danger here, and they need a fight.
Yeah, below the damage threshold, above the damage threshold. They find the open opportunity there from Yamzo onto Soneto, and immediately, while Clicks heals, the rest of his team pushes forward. They have that trust in each other for them to catch up. They clean up the elimination, get just a little bit more damage for their Storm Surge, but they're not in the zone just yet. While Higgs needs to heal, Clicks as well. The damage is there. Yamza is going to be the one leading the path, trying to build that perfect tarp of safety into the zone. And you're seeing the whole western side of the zone is stacked like a bunch of pancakes.
This is where Booga, Threats, and Craze cannot be slept on. Endgame experience coming in full effect here, and now they've somewhat positioned themselves up for the first to take high ground. Another trio off to the eastern side here. Seems like Surge is also active. Yamzo, Higgs, and Clicks right below this base here. So majority of the lobby pulling the zone here. That's a very favorable outcome.
You're seeing, just looking over onto that team. The med mist smoke goes down. They don't necessarily see Veer and them getting affected by the active Storm Surge, but might not be the time to peek either. especially since they're above it. They're peeking through the cones. They're looking at high ground. They're saying, hey, is right now too early? They did pull it on their side for the most part. But on the other side, Pollo, Agers, and Acorn, haven't seen too much of them, but 500 damage above the threshold. They have a clear rotation because as the zone opens up, it's going to give them more and more of a path to choose from.
Take a look at the highlight here once again from Yamzo's perspective to go ahead and initiate the knock here, kind of clean things up onto Soneto's trio and get them right into the position that they need to be in here in the end game. These elims also start to add up. Don't forget those points are super critical here to the overall tournament format. Booga, Threats, Praise back in the mix here. Give up the high ground, play for the mid layers, find a huge elimination here to keep them in the game. And just look at that. The vets starting to get active here, and what a find. Dashes here for the end game is absolutely perfect. Meanwhile, on high ground, who would have thought Bryce's team from the storm to the skies here are the first to take a stab up top. I wouldn't have even thought they'd have enough mats, and I guess I was right. They really don't have much, but they're putting up a flex here.
Yeah, but at least this is going to give them a little bit of bird's eye view. The biggest thing is I need to know if anybody on this team has a misform, because that's going to make it easy for them to get the eliminations, drop down low, get the resources, and go right back up to that high ground. But if they don't have it, that's just going to make it more and more risky. The zone does pull a little bit in their favor, but the little builds that they have, it's getting more and more on the edge of, do we go for it? Do we give up height? Do we drop down and try to get the elimination? I don't think they're in a safe spot no matter what they do. 1,000 above the threshold, though, for Peterbot, Ritual, and Cold. They're just focusing on the rotations. They're letting those elimination opportunities come to them.
Yeah, Skittles and Bryce actually find the Elam as well. They might get the refresh they're looking for, and then look at this. Look at a crash course into Kanata bolts here on the mid-ground, forcing them off to the side. Rapid, wait a second. What are you doing, buddy? You've left your team behind. Someone's lost the plot for real this time, and he has now had his team singled out, but look, they turn around and managed to secure a little bit of height. Kanata forced off the high ground. Cold, Ritual, Peterbot now playing almost intentional low ground here for eliminations. This is the difference between kind of those group stages and finals, right? It's not about winning. Now it's about getting points here.
Yeah, that consistency, the eliminations, 4 points per. One win with 10 eliminations, Monsters, over a 100-point game. But Kanata, Rapid Bolts, we saw them getting pushed by Dash and Bryce. That was high ground team, and they said, you know what, you want this layer? You can have it. They immediately built up with the little builds that they did have left. Everybody's probably in a similar situation when it comes to material count, and they're using their eye in the sky to their advantage, going ahead and shooting down on the teams. But Acorn, Pollo, Agers, exactly that. They're contesting for the high ground, and they haven't fought through the same amount of chaos as every other team, so that might be theirs to keep.
Oh yeah, look at how quickly Kanata folded his hand of cards there. Nope, you guys can have it. Pollo, Agers, Acorn head their way straight to the top. And listen, high ground might win game, but low ground wins tournaments. Ritual, Peterbot, and Cold are still in this one right now, racking up the eliminations down here, and it seems to be that they have full control. Clicks is down and out. Higgs and Yamzo are the last two left alive. Yamzo playing deep side of the storm here. Kind of swings around, finds Bolt, shuts him down. 2 more elims sent to the Yamzo's pocket here. And things are now starting to look very favorable for him.
Yeah, every team in this lobby, but maybe 2, are in shambles, are missing at least one player or a big chunk of health. But Peterbot still continues to set his eyes in the sky. He had the shockwave pistol, but it goes down. Cold is doing his heal off towards the back. Pollo, Agers, and Acorn in game number 1, uncontested at Demon's Domain, are in the driver's seat looking to close this one out. But Cold falls as well. All the pressure on the Ritual, and he falls like a lawn chair.
Top 5 for the teams that we expect to win this weekend's tournament here. This grand finals is just starting to heat up. Yamzo gets a little siphon here delivered to him. Pollo still in the game here, healthy as ever. Acorn alongside him. Yamzo just a wild factor here. Now kind of setting things up. He's got a misform to go ahead and play with. Trying to see if he's got a win condition before him, but no, he doesn't. Instead, has to go ahead and take the fights here. Shots coming in from up top, though. Too much pressure. Has to misform around the outskirts here. Jacob is starting to get interesting. Decisions to go up might just happen here.
Yeah, he has no extra heals, so he knows he can't play the backside of the zone unless he gets an elimination or down. Jojo, Fishy on one side. Visuals trying to break their way through. They're getting stuck. They're getting smushed to the outside of the zone. HP is going down. The Storm is doing a lot of the work as Yamso is trying to steal that one away, but he gets taken. Jojo, Fishy gets it in the nick of time. The Siphon is now coming into play. High ground is diving down, but Acorn falls to Visuals. Nobody here is a full trio. That gives anybody a fighting chance, but nah. Not in Ager's house. He ends that run rather quickly. Forces outside of the zone for for Braids to play that heal off, and he only has a med kit and possibly some storm sickness on top. Timing is going to be crucial as Braids is trying to make that last-ditch effort into the zone, but he's in a 1v2, and Agers put that final nail in the coffin. A 10 elimination game number 1 for the Major 1 champs.
When they took height, they only had 3, and all of a sudden, that end game came boiling down pretty quickly. Talk about a game that heated up. That was incredible action. You know, I could put a ribbon on the tournament and be pretty happy with the action we saw just in game number 1 there, Jacob. Talk about exciting.
Yeah, we saw throughout the game. We saw Yamzo look up, couldn't get height. We saw Kanata go up there, challenge it, take it from Dash. And then at the end, they waited for that perfect moment. You almost got to give all the credit to Acorn, the IGL, even though he did go down here, making it a little bit close. But he was the one that probably made that perfect call that turned their game around and eventually turned it into this. The 2v1 Braids, even with all the builds in the world, did not stand a chance against Agers and Poyo. The Major 1 champion strike first in game number 1. Zeke, what are your thoughts?
That's it. Tournament's over. Poyo's better than Peterbot. There, I said, okay, see you guys in Globals. See you guys there. Bye.
Hi, Zeke.
Wow. I cannot believe this just transpired, right? A hectic game, to say the least. And it's crazy that I feel like every time we look at like a different trio, it's like, oh, hey, them. No, it's them. It's them. It's them. They're on height. What is going on? So much chaotic. So many chaotic things transpiring in this game, but at the end, Poyo and Agers managed to just stay together, right? Say, hey, look, we've been here before. We just need to stay calm, cool, collected, and they start the day with a VR with 10 eliminations. Kelly, that's too much. Whoa, whoa.
It's such a good start, and honestly, it's Poyo, Agers, and Acorn that bring it every single time. And Jacob was talking about it. You saw all these different trios, all these players looking up for height, trying to take height. But it's Poyo, Agers, and Acorn that can literally be down, like, you know, just to 14 builds on the mid ground and somehow convert that into a strong height take. Poyo's ability with that mythic AR is just so dirty, so disgusting. He can just get eliminations from the low ground that are just everyone is so distracted by what's going on. Agers, Acorn, and Poyo play that end game perfectly.
I mean, MDF made the call, right? The end game was absolutely stacked, talking about how all of the trios that we kind of expected to win this weekend, they were all kind of found in the end game at one point. And then not to mention also teams that are qualified to the global championship with Braids visuals in a minute in the mix right there as well. What a statement, though, from Acorn, Poyo, and Agers. I mean, complete dominance, right? It looked like the high ground was all but Kanadas, but the big boys going head-to-head up there for the win. Incredible stuff.
So many things happened in that game. So many things to break down. So much nuance. But first, a short break. When we return, we'll dive into some of what we saw at game number 1 and start preparing ourselves for game number 2. Welcome back, everyone, to the FNCS. I almost danced, but I stopped myself. All right, welcome back. Game number 1. I cannot believe it. Pollo, Acorn, Agers get themselves a victory royale. It was insane. 10 eliminations as well. But there's other things that kind of developed in that last game. We wanted to highlight here Clixie, Amzo, and Higgs. What was crazy about that is the fact that Zoe had to kind of solo clutch there toward the end game. And I mean, I feel like every time I feel like I see Zoe doing this in the end game, he's always, especially when it's a solo, he's always clutching like this, right? I don't know that I've ever seen a situation where it's just him and it's like, oh, we're gonna see something. Oh, he's eliminated. It's always like, bro, how is he in top 5? Like, what is he doing?
You know, we talked about this at the start of the show, that if this trio can just make it, all of them alive at the very end, that victory royale is within their grasp. But so many times we see them make it down to either a solo or a duo. But honestly, if there's anyone that's going to be a solo clutch, you want it to be Yamzo. He's so smart and he's so fast with these plays. And that's part of the reason why we see them currently in 6th place right now. Obviously not the best place that they want to be. They did get a 4th place finish there. But, you know, 5 more games to go for today, 6 more games to go for tomorrow. Clix, Higgs, and Yamzo. This is just the start of their competition.
I mean, this game was just a return, right, to Yamzo. This is exactly what we saw in Major number 2. The solo clutches is what actually kept them in contention out of Yamzo to actually win the FNCS. Of course, we all know they got second by just a couple points, and the difference was absolutely crazy. But Yamzo, the solo clutches during that Major are kind of what made it so close. And, you know, listen, you know, Exet kind of put out this piece earlier this month, or a couple of weeks ago, whenever it was, you know, Higgs was like, hey, listen, you know, is Clix the best teammate you've ever played with? And he was like, no, Yamzo is. And we are kind of seeing why he believes that right now, because Yamzo just will always put on a show, even if he's the last one alive on the trio.
Dude, it's so difficult, right? Just think about how much pressure is on, like, in that situation, in grand finals. And it's just like, he's just bobbing and weaving, changing layers, finding elims, making it the top 5. Crazy stuff. Let's also talk about Peterbot, Cold, and Ritual in this game. So they're still uncontested, right? That's great. We kind of figured that would happen, and that's great. I love this positioning from the trio, though, right? Being in that front low, they just have all of this free, like, everyone that's trying to backside rotate, it's just free pickings, right?
Yeah, especially when you can see that they were a little bit low on mass right there. So while everyone else is kind of peeking high ground and kind of fighting for it, they're able to stay kind of in the back of zone, actually towards the side a little bit, where everyone else likes to stay in the front. They're able to kind of get these angles on all these players and grab elim after elim and refresh after refresh, which is what they desperately needed in this end game right now. Cold, Ritual, and Peterbot did such a good job on the low ground, and to have 2 exotics onto Peterbot has to be a crime. Vivid, that's just so sick.
I mean, yeah, this trio looked like they were actually going to win it. Like, I loved the position they found themselves in the mid ground. Like Z kind of mentioned, they were able to just look back towards everybody kind of rotating. Looking back at them, which is where we saw JoJo actually take out Peterbot right there. And then from there, right, the trio kind of fell apart there on out. But yeah, I mean, I still like how the trio is kind of playing.